This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, I go to Rabbi as we prepare for Parshas Boy. As the clock struck 12, terror struck the land of Mitzrayim. People were dying everywhere. Screams, shouts filled the air. Vatahit sa'aka gedoyla b'Mitzrayim. There was no escaping it. Ki ein bayis asher ein sham meis. Every single home in Mitzrayim had a casualty. This was most brutal and devastating of all the makas b'chayros. And Paroi, being a b'char himself, fearing for his own life, he'd seen enough. Paroi goes running through the streets. Moshe, Aaron, get out of here. Kumu mutsu mitaychami. Take your families, take your possessions, just get out of here already. And amazingly, Bnei Yisrael didn't leave. In fact, you look in the Yalkut Shimoni says that Paroi came banging on Moshe Rabbeinu's door, and he says, get out of here already, take Bnei Yisrael out. Moshe said, what? Are we a bunch of ganovim that we're going to leave in the cover of the night? We'll leave in the morning, like a mensch. Now why did Moshe Rabbeinu say that? Leave in the morning? Does Moshe know who he's dealing with? He's dealing with the biggest flip-flop in history. After the Makav Tzfardeya, Paroi tells Moshe, I'm going to let you go. And the pasuk says that as soon as Paroi saw ki hoisa harvacha, as soon as the Makkah let up a little bit, Paroi retracted and he says, you're not going anywhere. After the Makkah of Barad, Paroi declares with self-righteousness, he says, Chatasi apam, Hashem atzadik, Nani v'ami arishayim, right? Paroi admitted his own fault. He said, I'm the sinner and Rebbeinu Shalom is righteous. And again, as soon as things let up, Paroi changes his mind. He does it again and again after every Makkah. Paroi changes his mind. So if Paroi tells Moshe, Kumu tzu'u mitaychami, get up and leave, then that's exactly what you need to do. Get up and leave before Paroi changes his mind. Who knows? And in fact, Paroi did change his mind. Because the next day, Vayehafech leiv Paroi, and he came running after Bnei Yisrael to the Yam. So why didn't Klal Yisrael leave when Paroi said to leave? Answers, again, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. There's a very important reason why Bnei Yisrael did not leave when Paroi gave them permission. And that is because Hashem gave Bnei Yisrael a mitzvah. V'atem lo ytetzu ish mi Pesach beisai ad boiker. That no one can leave the door until the morning. And even though Paroi let them go, they couldn't. So you're telling me because of this mitzvah, they couldn't leave the house? But what if Paroi changes his mind? They've already been slaves for 210 years. What will happen? Maybe if Paroi changes his mind, they'll have to be slaves for another 200 years. Hashem would understand. Wouldn't that be the right thing to do? That under the circumstances, that if Paroi says to go, then you go? The answer is, the halacha is the halacha. And the halacha was, V'atem loytetzu ish mi Pesach beisai ad boiker. And it doesn't matter how grand the purpose, and it doesn't matter what the cause is, the halacha cannot be broken. Even if it means holding up the geula of Klal Yisrael. Says Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, this is a very important hashkafa. The ends do not justify the means. If you ever wondered, where does Mashiach hang out? Where does Mashiach spend his time waiting to be sent by the Rebbeinu Shalom to bring the geula? Says the Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Tzadi Chesam and Aleph, Teheicha Yasef, where does Mashiach sit? Apischa deroimi, at the gates of Rome. Umay Simne, what are the distinguishing features of Mashiach? Yasef Beini Aniyeh Soivle Choylav. He sits among the poor who are afflicted with illness. And these poor people, the Gemara says, have wounds, and the wounds are oozing with blood and other fluids, and they constantly need to untie and retie their various wounds. And the Gemara says something very interesting. It says the Gemara, there's a difference between the way Mashiach unties and reties his wounds, and how the rest of the people untie and retie their wounds. Says the Gemara, Kulan sharu v'asiri b'chadzim. All the other poor people, they untie all of their wounds to clean their wounds all at one time, and then they all retie them all at once. But Mashiach does it differently. Says the Gemara, what does Mashiach do? Ihu shari chad va'asar chad. Mashiach unties one and then reties one. He takes off one band-aid at a time, cleans it, and reties. One at a time. Frek the Gemara, why does Mashiach do it differently than everybody else? Says the Gemara, Mashiach says, Dilma mivayina, I may be needed. God may summon me. God may say, okay, it's time to redeem the Jewish people. Delay Yaakov, and I don't want to delay. If Mashiach would have untied all of his bandages at once, and then at that moment the Rebbe would say, Mashiach, come, it would take Mashiach a few extra moments to retie all of his wounds. And he would delay the coming of Mashiach a few moments. And therefore he doesn't want to do that, and therefore he unties and reties his bandages one at a time. And what would be so terrible if Mashiach would take an extra few seconds to tie his bandages? After all, we've waited 2,000 years. What will a few extra seconds do? What would be so terrible if we waited a few extra seconds? So one of the Kadmoinim on the Gemara, the Torah Chaim, Rav Chaim Shiur, he says that if Mashiach was ordered by Hashem to come at a certain moment, that means Rebbe Hashem deemed it that this moment is the opportune time for Mashiach to come, because at this time, Klal Yisrael is worthy to be redeemed. And if Mashiach were to wait an extra few moments, maybe a Jew would sin, and the entire nation would be proven unworthy for Mashiach to come. And who knows, it may take another few hundred years for Mashiach to come. And therefore Mashiach can't take a chance. He can't wait even a few extra seconds. And that's why he unties the bandages one at a time. Every second is precious. Ask the Brisker Rav, Rabbi Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik, if every second is so precious, then how could the Gemara say in Masechta Eruvin Adaf Mem Gimel Amud Beis that Mashiach does not come on Shabbos? Because for Mashiach to come on Shabbos, it would involve Mashiach leaving the Tchum, and leaving the Tchum is an Isser D'Rabbanan, and therefore the Gemara says Mashiach will not come on Shabbos. By the way, that is why in the Zmiros of Matzoi Shabbos we speak about Eliyahu Hanavi. It's brought down in the Ramah. The Matzoi Shabbos in the Zmiros we talk about Eliyahu Hanavi. Why? Because since Eliyahu Hanavi will not come on Shabbos, Matzoi Shabbos is the first opportunity for him to come, and therefore we like to mention him and the first opportunity. But ask the Brisker Rav, if every second is so precious, and if Mashiach can't wait even 2 seconds because maybe a Yid will sin and they'll no longer be worthy for Mashiach to come, then why doesn't Mashiach come on Shabbos? After all, if the Rebbe Hashem has deemed that this Shabbos is worthy for Mashiach to come, then how could Mashiach tie himself up and hold himself up just because of an Isser D'Rabbanan of Tchum Shabbos? But maybe by the time Shabbos is over, a Yid will do an Aveira and then Mashiach will have to wait hundreds of years. Just because of an Isser D'Rabbanan, Mashiach has to hold up the Gula of Klal Yisrael. Says the Brisker Rav, Halacha is Halacha. When it comes to Halacha, we're not flexible just because of the importance of the cause. And the Halacha is that there's an Isser D'Rabbanan, you cannot leave the Tchum. And even Mashiach cannot violate it, even for the noble cause of redeeming the Jewish people. And this is a very important hashkafa that we need to cultivate of the sacred nature of halacha. That if the halacha says something, in our minds, it should be like a brick wall. Then that's it. Doesn't matter how important it is. Doesn't matter how noble the cause. It's a halacha. You know, in the world of Kiruv, there's a danger, and sometimes there's a rationalization. Maybe we can overlook certain things for the benefit of bringing Jews closer to Torah. It's a dangerous attitude. It's a dangerous attitude. Now, there are situations where one is allowed to be lenient. There's something called a Shas Hadchak, and there's something called a B'diavad. And it's up to the responsible Paisik to know under what circumstances you could be Soymech. But before that, a person has to know the platitude of halacha, where halacha stands. Halacha is a brick wall. Halacha does not bend to the importance of the cause. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, the founder of the Musar movement, he writes, and it's brought down in the Tnuas HaMusar, that what was the greatness of the Arizal, what was the greatness of the Vilna Gaon? Says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, even with all of their knowledge of the Kabbalah, of the hidden aspects of Torah, the godless of the Gaon and the Arizal was They did not move one iota from one sif in the Shulchan Aruch. With all of their Ruach HaKodesh, and with all of their kirva and dveikus Hashem, their godless was, they did not budge a millimeter from the halacha. Rav Moshe Feinstein once had a very important meeting to attend to, an urgent meeting. And when davening was over, Rav Moshe mysteriously was not making his way out of the Beis Medrash. I meet him, come to Rav Moshe, it's urgent, we need to leave, why aren't you leaving? Moshe pointed out, there's someone standing by the door, davening Shemona Esrei, and the Shulchan Aruch says it's forbidden to pass in front of somebody davening Shemona Esrei. They said, but Rebbe, it's urgent, we got to go. Rav Moshe says, I know it's urgent, but there's a brick wall. You can't walk through a brick wall. He said, Rebbe, there's no brick wall, you could just open the door. Rav Moshe said, if the halacha says you can't pass in front of someone davening Shemona Esrei, then there's a brick wall in front of the wall, in front of the door. And no matter how important the cause, there's no way to get through a brick wall. Paroi ordered Bnei Yisrael to leave. Kumu tz'u mitechem. What do we need to do? We would think the first thing we need to leave as soon as possible. What in the world are we doing staying until the morning? Says Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, we were given a halacha. V'yatem lo teitzu ish mi pesach beis ad boker. Hashem said you can't leave till the morning. And even the greatest cause in history, even the redemption of Bnei Yisrael, will have to wait until the morning, because the halacha is the halacha. Says Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, this was the limud of Yetzias Mitzrayim. As great as it was to leave, even greater is the pinnacle that we hold up. Halacha. Wish everyone a good Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.